So, Stu, are you almost giddy at what is possibly coming?
Yeah, I think I'm excited. I was trying to think of what I'm most excited about because there's a good chance that the Republicans get the House. And by the way, this is going to be close.
Don't toy with my feelings here,
yeah,
Stu.
I know. I was interested because there was I think this is the right thing to feel, but there's very little panic over the House. I think the Republicans will get it, but if you think about the shenanigans that have been worried about over the years, I will say this
was shenanigans.
Yeah, I know. I was going to go a different direction. The shenanigans that we've been worried about over the years, it would be a heck of a lot easier to steal this House election than anything else you can possibly imagine. We're going to be completely dependent on California districts that take 2 weeks to count. That is like legitimately what the House comes down to. So the fact that we're not freaked out about that, I think is good. Maybe that means at the end of the day, whatever problems we may have had before have been solved. But at the end of the day, we're looking at a very close, maybe 220, maybe 221 if we're lucky in the House. It's going to be in that general vicinity. They're saying markets say it's about a 93% chance that Republicans will get the House, but not 100. So that's still out there. But if you are able to get that, I was thinking about what does that mean, right? You're going to have 53 senators at least. McCormick, by the way, even though some places haven't called that race, McCormick's going to get that race in Pennsylvania. You still have two possibilities, Kerry Lake in Arizona and Sam Brown in Nevada, that are possible. I would say probably less than 50% on those, but 53 isn't 50 or 51. So you've got a little bit of a cushion there. The more cushion you have in the Senate,
you've got enough for Murkowski and
Collins.
And Collins.
Right. You at least got that going for you, which is nice. Yeah. And the more cushion you have, the better bill you can get out of, let's say, reconciliation, to keep it as nerdy as possible. Yes. You're going to get one bill, basically, that is going to give you, that you can pass with 50 votes. This is how Donald Trump passed the tax break package he passed back in his first term. And we may very well get a good tax break package. It may be really good. Maybe he gets even more aggressive. Because remember, that was sort of an off-the-shelf Republican proposal, largely, that they passed in 2017. So maybe we'll get something even better. But honestly, I was thinking about it. That's not what I'm most excited about. I think what I might be most excited about is the prospect of Elon Musk coming in and identifying places to cut.
Oh. Me too.
There's something about that, because that is really of all of his brilliance. We all know the guy is a genius.
Yep.
But of all of his brilliance, that I think is what you take most away from what he was able to bring to all of the companies. Sometimes it's even presented as soulless and heartless, right? Like he just comes in and he has no care for what he's just like.
Wait a minute. Hang on just a second.
Mm-hmm.
It's a company.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a charity. It's a company.
Agreed.
And look at how many people this heartless bastard cut from Twitter. Well, it's doing better than it ever has. You might have your complaints here and there, but I believe X saved the republic. I wonder if it wasn't for Elon Musk buying Twitter, if we would have won.
I think that's very true. And I think, remember, when you say it's doing better than it's ever done, you can definitely look at financial measures that do not agree with that comment. However,
but that's not
what his goal
about
was.
The product.
What was his goal? His goal was to allow people to speak freely. And it was an expensive jaunt into that world. But it was worth it, I think. And it was something, he was protecting the First Amendment. And I didn't mean to say that in a negative way when I said heartless and soulless. That was how it has been portrayed by many.
That's the way it's spun every time.
And there are plenty of stories of him being tough on employees, maybe too tough on certain employees. But that attitude 100% is necessary in the federal government. Whatever he thought was waste at Tesla or SpaceX or Twitter is nothing compared to the burden we all carry with incompetent employees and complete waste and nonsensical programs that accomplish nothing we all carry that burden. And if Donald Trump empowers him and he wants to take this on, as they talked about during the campaign, I feel like it's one of those things we could actually see a real difference made. Not just a little, hey, we shaved 4% off of this rate, which I will cheer on. I will be happy with tax rates going down. But like, that's something I think could really change the country in a positive direction.
I want you to bring your best hat, your best thinking cap on Monday, because I scheduled an economist who said the way that Donald Trump is thinking about tariffs would mean an $18,000 raise for everybody, and could actually work to pay our bills every month. And now I don't know. I haven't heard the full argument. But I just want to hear it, because if we can cut back our spending so it's fairly reasonable, and we're still, providing a safety net and everything else. I am very interested in rebuilding our industries, rebuilding our factories, and actually motivating people to go to work and learn a real skill and start making things here in America and having pride in that.
Yeah,
and sure. I think for the first time, if I can get somebody to tell me all of the metrics and the numbers, because the numbers have to work out. But that to me is thrilling. Even if you went to a 5% income tax, I'd rather abolish it. But if you did something dramatic, you imagine the money that would open up that could be invested in job creation, new businesses. Can you imagine what would happen in a country where we didn't have income tax?
There is a three-prong approach, right, that he's talked about. One is raising tariffs. One is, as you mentioned, getting rid of the income tax. And a third would be cutting the government down to levels, roughly, you of course adjust for inflation and you adjust for population growth and all these things, but roughly to the 1800s, as he talked about, 1880s.
Or 1920s. Calvin Coolidge did this.
Calvin Coolidge did some of this as well. He actually, he was more friendly to tariffs, even though, it's not my favorite policy, but he is one of my favorite presidents. But, those three things are, if you could do all three of those together, it adjusts the country in a way that is so dramatic, it would probably do a lot of really positive things. Now, the issue with it,
5% growth, like 5% growth a year. That puts us into the when China was doing well kind of growth.
Yeah, and I think we can get locked into sort of the fantasy league ideas here, where I'd
like to. Yeah, you've been in Doom City for a long time.
This is a good time to do it, right? He just won. What can we do here? The issue with these three policies together is one of them is really easy to do, which is raise tariffs. Donald Trump can do that just on his own. The other two are nearly impossible. I mean, get over. And I literally sell mugs at studoesmerch.com that say repeal the 16th Amendment. So I am 100% this should be our goal. But you're right. If there might be a modified version of this that makes sense. If you can control spending, if you can cut some, and you can lower the income tax a great deal and replace some of that income with tariffs, I don't think that would be the type of situation that would be horrible. We do forget at times we are the second largest manufacturing country in the world. We do make a lot of things here. And
I do.
A lot of times, those measures I think are a little bit out of whack. But that being said, if I'm happy to trade. I'll trade getting rid of the income tax for a lot. There's a lot of stuff I'm willing to deal with on the policy front if we could get a win like that. And why not go for it? Why not?
I know. He is the guy who could do it. Donald Trump is the guy who could do it. He could get that constitutional amendment passed on the the term limits on Congress. I think he could get that passed. If he backed it, he could get it passed. If he wanted to repeal the 16th Amendment with another constitutional amendment, and he really laid it out, here's what this would mean for you. I think the numbers are so staggering that who wouldn't be for that?
Well, certainly, constitutional amendments are difficult because you need the other side involved in them, and that makes them. I mean, there are other approaches, but it's how hard it is. It's hard. We've done it 27 times in a couple hundred years, and most of them were right at the beginning. It's really hard to do, and it should be hard to do, by the way. But that's a change that I would absolutely love. Term limits are one. Term limits are, I would say, arguably more interesting from a pragmatic, doable circumstance. This is a really popular policy. People can't stand the fact that Nancy Pelosi just won her 20th term in Congress. 20 terms in Congress. People don't like that. They don't like it on Republicans or Democrats. You're talking about 80% approval numbers for a proposal like that. And I think Trump also looks at it and says, you know what? There's a good chance that if I ran again, I'd win. I'm limited. Why aren't you? Like, I think he looks at that and just says, as a general idea of fairness, why is the president limited to 2 terms when senators get to go for multiple 6-year terms? Congressmen can go forever with 2-year terms. Why not make it so there are limits across the board?
Wouldn't it be amazing if the last time they put term limits on was through Congress because they saw how out of control FDR was, and it was the Democrats that led that and thought we can't have that, and now to come back after Congress has done nothing and our government is out of control like it was at the beginning of FDR and through Woodrow Wilson, to have now the president come back and say, all right, let's finish that job.
Yeah.
The progressives always take people's breath away. They always go too far, and they hit a point where you're like, oh my gosh, that is like, whoa, what are we doing here? And they've done it again.
You notice that when you see people with bulges in their swimsuits winning gold medals. That's you're reminded
for the women,
women's swimming events. I think that's true. You get something like the term limits. I think there's very, very limited opposition to Donald Trump for what he makes a priority from the Republicans. So when you're talking about laws, you're not going to get much pushback from Republicans on this stuff. I think, when you get into constitutional amendments, it becomes much more difficult. But it's all a matter of what Donald Trump prioritizes. If you remember in 2016 and 2017, he also ran on a proposal to do term limits. He just never really made it a huge priority. He would mention it in speeches, but this time I think he's serious about it. I mean, this is in his first, that speech we played earlier, his first 10 things he wants to do, he included it.
If you haven't heard it, it's so great.